Welcome back, everyone, to episode number 44 of the Beginner to Master Speedrun. I am coming into today rated 1685, so hopefully I can break 1700 today. And also on a win streak of 137 games, so let's try and keep it going. I'll hop into the first game. Okay, first opponent, playing Muhammad, 1954. And starting with the usual, King's Pawn. And let's play a Ponziani. Ponziani can be very effective at this level. My opponent immediately plays h6, which is probably more common against bishop to c4. Sometimes indicates that black is scared of like bishop c4 and knight g5. But against the Ponziani, I'm just happy to take over the center. And yeah, get the two center pawns, have very fluid development going forward. h6 is not so useful for black with the current position. So keep developing. I mean, knight c3 is most natural. If I want, I could play pawn d5 here, which essentially forces a knight back to b8 or to pretty undesirable square a5 or b4. Yeah, I actually kind of like that better, pawn d5. Sometimes this sort of move is overextending, but in this case, the pawn is really well supported. If knight f6, I could even play pawn e5. So I imagine like d6 is probably the way to go for black. Pawn c6. So challenging my d5 pawn, but allowing me to play pawn d6. And again, I have to be careful extending like this, but the pawn would be supported by the queen, and can also be reinforced by e5 and bishop f4. So let's go for this. And if bishop f6, I can play e5. I guess there's bishop g5, so I'm not trapping the bishop. Bishop g5 immediately. So I could take with knight or bishop. I could also just leave the bishop here and keep developing. Bishop c4 looks really simple. And start pressuring the f7 pawn. Yeah, I like bishop c4. If bishop takes c1, I can take back with the rook. And all of black's pieces are still on their starting squares. Meanwhile, I'm pretty well developed. And center pawns are advanced, especially this pawn. Ideas of knight e5 or queen b3. I think in this case, e5 makes a lot of sense. Yeah, this is pretty much full domination. I'm not up any material, but the position is just so good. And it's really hard now for black to develop like any of the minor pieces. Knight's restricted by my pawns. Bishop was shut in. So b5 is probably one of the best tries. And I'm wondering if I can do some tactics here. Like knight takes b5, pawn takes and bishop d3. Not only threatening the queen, but threatening to take on c8 with checkmate. Yeah, let's go for that. In positions like this, tactics are bound to happen when the pieces are on good squares. And I think I'm guaranteed to win the queen or checkmate next move. Okay, no mercy. So pretty quick game to start the episode. I really don't think there's much to discuss or analyze. I mean, black really just fell victim to the pawn center. I probably had to just play a more standard move instead of h6. Knight f6 or pawn d5 are generally the two main responses to the Ponziani. In this position, yeah, engine's actually giving d5, and yeah, this makes a lot of sense just to contest the center. And if takes knight c3, black doesn't have to move the queen. Black could play bishop e4, and this would lead to more close battle than what happened in the game. So okay, let's keep it going. Rated 1693. Playing Niels Churcher, rated 1727. We'll have another King's Pawn. I'm still playing the openings that I used to play when I was around this rating, back when I was maybe 10 or 11 years old. I'm playing against the Spanish, also known as Roy Lopez. This is Exchange Variation, which we did see a few episodes ago. This time my opponent is actually walking into a pretty well-known line that is considered to be quite good for black. Knight takes e5. It's a little bit dubious. It does win a pawn, but I'm winning the pawn back. And essentially here, the knight's going to have to move. I guess there is f4, but assuming white saves the knight, I'm going to take the pawn on e4. And I'm basically taking away white's casting rights. King f1 or queen e2 are the only legal moves. I'm happy to trade queens here. And we'll get kind of a queenless middle game. Now, I am debating how to develop. I think bishop g4 is very natural. And this could walk into h3, bishop h5, g4. But I'd really like to castle quickly, get the rook to open d file, maybe eventually to the e file. The opponent's playing pretty quickly. So we're both playing pretty quickly. Yeah, probably just bishop g6. I mean, I could throw in rook e8, but probably save it for later. There might be cases where my other rook wants to come to e8. The d file is also half open. So yeah, I feel like this is the first moment in the game where I have a bigger choice of what to do. Like I could play bishop b4, knight f6. Another move that comes to mind is h5. Trying to pressure the king side and threatening to take on h5. There would be the eventual pin. Like one drawback of h5 is the bishop is less supported, so like there might be this or this. I don't think those moves really scare me. At knight e5, there's rook e8. Knight h4, I can take. So yeah, I'm going to start with h5. It's a very thematic move whenever the opponent expands with h3 and g4. Very often h5 can create a weakness in the structure. And if white plays g5, then pawn could be overextended. But instead white counterattacks, hitting the rook, also connecting the rook, so yeah, if I take, then white could probably just take back. So f6 looks very natural. Save my rook and attack the bishop. And yeah, now, I mean, again, I could take, but I don't really want to be trading and giving white the file. So I'm mainly considering bishop b4 or bishop d6 here. Bishop to b4. I mean, pressures a knight. Just not sure if a3, if I actually want to take the knight. I'm thinking the bishop is a little bit preferable on d6. Just a bit more centralized, well defended. And really I just want to complete development with knight to e7. So we'll see what white wants to do. I don't think white wants to take, because then I can take back and pin the knight. So knight d4 is played. Maybe eyeing the e6 square. I'm considering c5, knight e6, but yeah, it looks like there's too many issues with that. Could also play knight e7, again allowing knight e6, and then just play rook g8, defending the pawn. I think that looks okay. And eventually I would have bishop f7 to kick away the knight. Yeah, let's just develop. Don't think I need to overthink this too much. Also controlling f5 another time, so knight f5 is no longer an idea for white. Okay, so I'll save the rook and the g-pawn. We might see f4. If white can reinforce the knight with a pawn, could be a little bit annoying. I mean, if pawn f4, I could play bishop f7 still. Instead, white plays pawn f3. Yeah, I'm going to play bishop f7. And so far, I've really just been trying to be solid, keep improving the pieces. I like the square for the bishop, hitting the knight. I think eventually, like, assuming the knight will move, I want my rook back on a center file. Would be nice to align with the king. I could throw in pawn c5, but I don't think it's necessary. I'm trying to create some x-ray vision against the king. White's still playing quickly. Okay, knight e4, so hitting the bishop. The tension is definitely mounting. And the bishop's defended. I'm thinking of playing knight d5 here. I'm pressuring white's bishop. Also unleashing the rook. So if white takes and I take back, then white's going to be left with the bishop pinned and attacked twice. So this could get tactical very soon. I mean, there's a big kind of clump of minor pieces in the center. And with this alignment, knight takes e3 possible. It seems like this position is ripe for tactics. So white sidesteps the king. Now I could still take, provoke the king back to e-file. But do I have any follow-up? I do have bishop c5 there, like after which both knights would be pinned. I don't see anything like quite as appealing, so let's go for this. Should note white can't take because I would take back and defend. And yeah, I'm going to play bishop c5. So this knight is pinned to the rook, so the bishop can't be taken. This knight is pinned by the rook to the king. This knight is pinned by the bishop to the king. So both knights, even though they're centralized, they can't move. But white's defending both knights. Like, I don't think I can easily win material here. I'm thinking g6 to prepare f5. At g6, the king just goes back. Let's calculate. G6, king d2. I could double white's pawns, play f5. I just don't like putting my pawns on light squares if I'm keeping my light squared bishop. Another idea is just to drop back the bishop. Maybe prepare c5. Could also play bishop d5 here. Yeah, I don't think I'm winning any material. I'm going to play bishop d5. Really just centralizing the bishops. And if the king moves back and unpins this knight and this knight, then I have to do something about this bishop being attacked. I'm thinking, like, if the king moves back, I take, and white will be left with double isolated d-pawns. And that should be slightly better for black. It's a very unusual position, like not something you see every day. And both knights in the center, attacked by both bishops. I'm not sure what I would do here as white. Like maybe b4, okay, pawn b3. So that seems like kind of a waiting move. I'm going to play rook e7. Also kind of a slow move, but the point is to either double up or put the other rook on the d file. And I'm still hesitant to play g6. I could have played the last move, but then after king d2, like this pawn would be weak. Okay, rook ae1. Question, do I want to throw in like h4? Maybe I do. Yeah, I'm going to throw in h4. So I want to move the rook, but I didn't want to deal with pawn takes pawn. And sometimes long term, it's good to play such a move to fix white's pawn on h3. Like this could be a weakness later on. I'll play rook to d8. My plan here is probably to maybe to take the knight and double up and attack this pinned knight, or just move back, unleashing the rook. It still feels like I have some improving moves in store. This bishop is probably better on b6. This bishop would like to drop back. Bishop f7. Yeah, maybe it wasn't worth putting the bishop on d5 several moves ago, because it is nice having the rook unobstructed. Now I do have to watch out. Like if the king moves, white might have ideas of knight d6. Actually, if I take knight d6, oh, that could be dangerous. Oh, wow. Take knight d6. Take knight d6. Take. Both bishops are attacked. Oh, but I have bishop f2 in that position. But then there's rook here. Wait, so what else do I do? Take knight d6. Oh, this is not easy. I mean, there's rook. I think I have to take knight d6. Oh, that's not good for me, though. Bishop a3. Bishop a3 is so ugly. There's also rook e5. Rook e5 is probably the way to go. I thought the position was good, but I'm actually like, I'm probably in trouble now. I just missed the fact that white could generate tactics on the e-file. And I'm not sure if my opponent would have found the in-between move. I can, of course, show this after the game. But at least with this move, I keep the bishop defended. I'm missing out on doubling white's pawns. I'm allowing takes, and rook e7. It's not super pleasant. I will have rook d7, though. Okay, knight f5. Maybe I have... I don't have bishop g6. Knight f5 is a good move. Oh, yeah. I'm in a lot of trouble. Let's play king v8. Really not the move I wanted to play. But it gets out of the fork ideas for white. I think I can play this. Looks like I'm blundering a fork, but I have rook takes d3 as a threat. But I'm in really, really big trouble. Like, this is probably the worst position I've had so far in the speedrun. Under a minute. I'll tickle the A-pawn. And 96 is probably coming. And the hope is to get in C5. It might be hard to achieve, though. Yeah, knight f4 is also a threat. The knight is so strong here for white. My winning streak might be coming to an end in this game. But I'm going to keep fighting. I gotta play quick. Gotta try and cut my losses. I can pre-move this. Maybe some c5 move. Still in the air. Okay. So b3 is a target. Pre-move this. Okay, white's gifting b3. That's a small success. I mean, if I can win this pawn and start pushing my queenside pawns, that's a dream. Okay, I'll play this move c5. And white is ready to double up. I mean, I will have rook c8. I feel like things are getting messy here. I had to defend. It's nice the bishop still covers e6, so if the knight can't move there. And there's this nagging pressure against d4 and a4. Okay, we'll go for activity, threatening this maybe. A-pawn is still hanging. It's a big mess here. Let's start with this, because if rook check, there would be knight e2. Okay, now I think I can play this. So if it takes, I take. Oh, it's not clear though, because knight can take. Okay, well now I have check, I can take the rook. And then I'll take the knight. White could throw in that. Now it's going to be a pawn race. But my bishop is very useful. f4 would be a good try. If f4, I play bishop h7. Just can't let the pawn cut off my bishop. Okay. I think everything is under control now. Just cut the king off. Might as well make another queen. Okay. Oh, I have to breathe a sigh of relief after that game. I mean, kudos to my opponent for really surviving what seemed to be a difficult situation in this queenless middle game. And yeah, this opening, I mean, it's considered to be a little bit better for black, but of course we saw it's still playable for white. I mean, I had the bishop pair. I was able to put on some early pressure. And then I think what happened is I got a little bit complacent. I mean, maybe starting with bishop d5, like this really wasn't necessary because I ended up playing bishop back to f7. So I could have saved some time maybe starting with this move and then just immediately put pressure against a knight on d4. But my opponent did a really nice job putting the rooks on the only open file, which is the e file. Even though this file seems closed, it's a file with no pawns on it. And then after bishop f7, this is already like a pretty big mistake because king d2 has a threat of knight d6 using the rook battery on the e file. So my initial plan was to take on d4, but I didn't go for this because knight d6 wins material for white. Whatever I take back with, let's say pawn, then rook takes rook, and both of my bishops are hanging. And I was calculating bishop f2, but then there's rook e2, and yeah, there's no way to save both bishops in this position. So, I mean, thankfully, I realized the danger here, and I took some time to play this move rook e5. But then things were pretty unpleasant for black after takes, and knight f5. And yeah, this was a mess. I imagine both of us made mistakes around this point. I was able to apply pressure on the queen side. And hopefully this is a nice example of how to fight back from a difficult situation. Like sometimes you just have to keep the game going, look for opportunities to exploit the weaknesses in your opponent's position, and then also hold on to your own weaknesses. It was a big balancing act also to not get too low on time. And then towards the end here, yeah, it got a little bit messy because I was close to playing rook e1. Oh, but white's rook is defended, so yeah, knight e2 is not necessary. White could just move the king. So yeah, I took the pawn, and then I played this. And then, yeah, during the game, I thought I might be allowing rook takes e7, because I can't take the knight. If I take the knight, there's mate in 3. Check, check, and then checkmate. So if rook takes e7, I probably would have taken back, and then knight takes. And yeah, who knows what would have happened here. I mean, it's equal material. White has the passer on the king side. I have the passers on the queen side. So I think all 3 results would have been possible here. Okay, well, I got to 1700. Not the easiest way to do so, but pretty exciting game. I think I'm going to end it there. We'll keep it as a 2-game episode. Thanks everyone for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the games today. As always, if you have questions, do leave them below. If you like the content, do subscribe. It does help the channel. And I'll see you guys soon.